Khuddaka Nikaya, the Minor Discourses. Theragāthā, verses of the elder bhikkhus. Dukanipāta, book of the twin verses. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Uttara Chapter 1. Theragāthā, number 2.1. Uttara Thera. No state of existence could go on forever. No permanence either is to be found within causes and conditions. The aggregates come together, forming into something, but only to dissolve and fall apart again, sooner or later, while never to be put back together the same way ever again. So, by knowing this terrifying fact firsthand, there's no desire left in me for yet another life any more. Thus, by having cut myself loose from all sensual pleasures, I now attained to the full elimination of all the asavas. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Uttara, his first. Verse 2.2. Piṇḍolabhāradvāja Thera. This life cannot be lived through fasting. It's utter stupidity to think that diet alone or the type of food one eats could ultimately bring peace or contentment to the heart. So, realizing the need for food, a mere utility to sustain this body, you see me going around in search of a meal. It's a treacherously sticky quicksand, this whole business of paying respect to those simply because they come from certain families, belonging to the so-called upper classes of society. Such honor or veneration is truly a subtle dart to pull out, so difficult for the worthless to fully give up. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Piṇḍolabhāradvāja. Verse 2.3. Valliya Thera. The monkey is still at his old tricks, knocking on the 5 doors of this tiny little hut, going round and around, banging on each door, again and again, trying his best to disturb or get a rise. Enough, monkey! Stop it with all this running around. It's no longer like it was before. Now there's wisdom to rein you in. So you won't get to play around as much, nor go running around as far, until you're quickly pulled back in each and every single time. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Valliya, his second. Verse 2.4. Gaṅgātīriya Thera. My tiny hut here, on the bank of the Ganges, is made up of mere 3 palm leaves, while a discarded funeral pot serves as my alms bowl, and the robes I wear have been picked up from a refuse heap. I spoke only a single word during the entirety of my first 2 vasas, but it was on my 3rd one to follow, where the gloomy darkness of ignorance was blown asunder. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Gaṅgātīriya. Verse 2.5. Ajina Thera. Strange, how even though one becomes himself a master of the three knowledges, conquering death itself, being undefiled in his purity, still, however, he'll be despised by fools who, knowing nothing, look down upon him for not having the support of others, who, being well known, enjoy much fame. Meanwhile, all such characters who gain the support their renown brings, along with whatever they desire from this world, continue doing their evil deeds. Yet, those same blind fools will go on supporting them, unquestioningly serving and waiting on them, hands and feet. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Ajina. Verse 2.6. Meḷajina Thera. From the moment I heard the teacher speak, proclaiming the Dhamma, never have I ever witnessed any discrepancies, nor known even the tiniest bit of doubt-raising or contradictory trait within the all-knowing and invincible Lord. So how could there be any doubts in me about the truth and effectiveness of our path of practice, our training, as taught by our great caravan leader, the mightiest of all heroes, the supremely excellent charioteer? These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Meḷajina. Verse 2.7. Radha Thera. Lust creeps in and finds its way into the undeveloped heart, just like raindrops, seeping in, overwhelm and destroy a badly built house with its unmaintained thatched roof. Lust, however, cannot creep in nor find a way into the well-developed heart, just like raindrops, unable to seep in, cannot overwhelm nor damage a sturdy house with its well-thatched roof. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Radha. Verse 2.8. Surādha Thera. There's no rebirth for me anymore. The Conqueror's dispensation, guiding me all the way through, is now fulfilled. That which is called a trapper's net is now destroyed, for the path to rebecoming is utterly obliterated. That for which purpose I went forth, leaving behind the household life, as I went on my own, being homeless, has now been fully attained, as all the fetters are now finally eradicated. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Surādha. Verse 2.9. Gotama Thera. The wise and pure can sleep at peace. Once they're no longer tied to women, around whom they must always be on guard, always needing to protect themselves. For no truth could be found when you're near them. Sensual desire, you've now been put to the knife. No more am I your slave, no longer in your debt. This life has been offered fully to Nibbana, where having gone, we neither weep nor mourn ever again. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Gotama, his first. Verse 2.10 Vasabha Thera. Only after having utterly destroyed and thus killed himself, he goes on and begins ruining and killing others. Truly, one must first murder oneself to bring mischief and destruction upon others, just like the trickster, who uses a dead bird as his decoy in order to trap birds from the sky. But the one who is truly holy does not need to go around showing his true colors, putting them on display. A true holy man's colors are to be found inside, and not there for those on the outside. So, he's no Brahmin, O Sujampati, that one who lives intending and doing his evil deeds, who despite his fake external is in fact someone whose heart is wholly black indeed, through and through. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Vasabha. Verse 2.11 Mahācunda Thera. Only by fervently desiring to listen and learn can one's learning ever come to growth. And once there is learning, then wisdom has the possibility for it to grow as well. With wisdom in the heart, then one personally knows that which must be known, understanding which one finally comes to taste true happiness. So, go and make the most of your time while staying in remote and quiet places, as you train yourself so to experience freedom from all the fetters. But if that's too much for you to be living alone, then go and live among the Sangha. But only if you maintain your training, remaining mindful and self-protected throughout. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Mahācunda. Verse 2.12 Jotidāsa Thera. Those who viciously mistreat others, tying their fellow man with ropes and nooses, forcing their will upon them, savagely treating and brutalizing them, they fail to realize how it's only a matter of time before they must face the very same of all they have sown. For actions committed intentionally cannot evaporate nor vanish. After all, no matter the nature of the actions committed, whether good or bad, its author is inescapably the immediate inheritor of all that he has done. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Jotidāsa. Verse 2.13 Heraññakāni Thera. They keep fleeting the days and nights of one's life, and then life comes to a full stop, and along with it one's lifespan ends. All those subject to death, sooner or later, watch their life drying up, just like tiny and shallow streams. Yet, Despite his life coming to an end, the fool still doesn't realize that although he is leaving this life, but a dreadful future for him awaits. For while being alive, the evil actions he's committed, their painfully bitter fruits he now most certainly has to face. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Heraññakāni. 2.14 Somamitta Thera. Like someone caught in the middle of the wide ocean, desperately struggling to not drown, jumps onto a flimsy plank of driftwood, grabbing onto it for dear life, soon sees himself beneath the waves. In the same way, although living a blameless and virtuous life, will soon sink below the waves if his companion gives in to sloth and drowsiness so easily. So, avoid being around those who, lacking effort, keep wasting time. Instead, seek out those genuine noble ones who cherish seclusion, those wise ones who practice diligently and non-stop, the true meditators who keep inspiring you constantly with their drive and intensity. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Somamitta. Verse 2.15 Sabbamitta Thera. People are tightly bound to other people. People lean and depend on other people. But it is people who hurt other people, and hurt people only end up hurting other people. So why bother holding on so tightly to people? What's the point in wanting to be close to people? Just let them be and go on your way and move away from all people. After all, in the end, people will only hurt themselves and other people. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sabbamitta. Verse 2.16 Mahākāḻa Thera. The heavy and intimidatingly large black woman, with a nose like that of a crow's, tore off the first leg from a corpse, and then the other. Later, she cut off one arm, and then the other, in a grisly manner. And by chopping off the head too, she cut open the skull and emptied its contents. Now, having turned it into the shape of a milk bowl, she sits there, next to the whole mass of severed limbs. May the one who understands and sees the meaning of this no longer go on building any new attachments, unlike the idiot who keeps binding himself to further assets, grabbing onto more acquisitions, and as a result keeps returning to face more sorrow and pain. May I never put myself through that again, ending up with bones scattered all over like this. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Mahākāḻa. Verse 2.17 Tissa Thera. With his head shaven, wrapped in his outer robe, receiving his meal, drinks, clothes to wear, along with his bed and a place to stay, soon he attracts many enemies. By identifying the dangers of this unavoidable fact while receiving such honors and gifts, the bhikkhu must be on guard, always attentive and free from lusting after this or that, wandering mindfully with the very few possessions he's been given for support, empty of passion or desire. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Tissa, his third. Verse 2.18 Kimbila Thera. Here, in this eastern park called the Pācīnavamsa, the Sakyan brothers gather, having given up much wealth and prestige, contentedly delighting in whatever food we receive in our bowls. Driven with such fervent and dedicated energy, we remain resolute and persistent in our striving, having given up the superficial things that passionately delight others, while we contentedly continue to delight in the Dhamma. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Kimbila, his second. Verse 2.19 Nanda Thera. Due to my heedlessness and shallow ways of thinking, I was so fickle, captivated by appearances and fine-looking things. Remaining vain, thus, I was afflicted with the passion for pleasurable sensual things. It was through the skillfulness of the Buddha, the kinsman of the sun, who helped me with his masterfully versatile teaching, whereby I finally understood, as I practiced wholeheartedly, however, this time with the correct application of wisdom, and plucked out the very root of ceaseless becoming from my heart, once and for all. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Nanda. Verse 2.20 Sirimat Thera. While others praise and honor him, the one who in fact has no samadhi, not having attained to the ultimate calm of the heart, then their praise and honor are simply empty, spoken in vain and undeservedly, for he has not tasted the true state of the collected stability of the heart. Meanwhile, others blame and rebuke another, the one who does in fact have samadhi, having attained to the ultimate calm of the heart. Then this time their blame and rebuke too are empty, spoken in vain and undeservedly, for he has tasted the true state of the collected stability of the heart. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sirimat. Verse 2.21 Uttara Thera. The deceptive fabrications of the aggregates I have fully comprehended. I've fully eradicated the craving for the more, and by cultivating in me the 7 factors of awakening, I have now attained the destruction of all the contaminants of the heart. Thus, since the deceptive fabrications of the aggregates are now fully comprehended, and the ensnaring trapper is herself exposed and thrown out, and the 7 factors of awakening developed to their full maturity in me, with the contaminants of the heart completely destroyed, at the moment of my passing, I shall be extinguished in peace, with no residues left in me. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Uttara, his second. Verse 2.22. Bhaddaji Thera. The name I carried then was King Panada, whose palace was made of gold, and its main post 16 stories high, where its width equaled its height, and its impressive rooftop had over 1,000 spires. 1,000 steps one had to climb to reach the top, with all its walls covered in precious brocades. Meanwhile, Gandhambas, numbering 7 times 6,000, kept enjoying themselves, playing their divine music and dancing beneath its golden banners and flags hanging overhead. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Bhaddaji. Verse 2.23. Sobhita Thera. Being a bhikkhu dedicated to his mindfulness practice, wise and imbued with the power of persevering energy throughout, in a single night I was able to recall no less than 500 kappas. By consistently applying the 4 establishments of mindfulness, cultivating and maturing in the 7 factors of awakening, while supported throughout by the Noble 8, 500 eons were revealed to me, all in a single night. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sobhita. Verse 2.24. Valliya Thera. Whatever must be done by the one who is earnest with indomitable energy, whose heart has nothing else other than to fully awaken left in it to live for, all that I vow to unquestioningly do without fail. There, behold my resolve and determined focus. Show me the way, the method to the direct and proven path, taking me straight to the deathless, which I will come to know personally with the unmistakable wisdom of sages, the way the river Ganges knows once it has reached the wide ocean. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Valliya, his third. Verse 2.25. Vītasoka Thera. I need to trim my hair today, I thought to myself. So the barber came and began shaving my face. Then, by taking the mirror in my hand, I began examining this reflection of the body I saw looking back at me. What I saw, in fact, seemed all empty and hollow. But despite, for a long time, having been so blind to see, suddenly, however, the darkness of ignorance just dropped and was now gone. The well-kept top knots of my hair have all been shaved off. Now, no more are there any new lives left for me. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Vītasoka. Verse 2.26. Puṇṇamāsa Thera. Having given up the 5 hindrances blocking my way, my goal has always been to attain the safe refuge from all that ongoing struggle. Thus, By taking the Dhamma as my mirror, I began to finally see and truly know who and what this me was all about. So, by continuously looking back at myself, I kept inspecting every bit of this body, going through it again and again, investigating it both internally and externally, and soon came to realize that it was really completely empty through and through. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Puṇṇamāsa, his second. Verse 2.27 Nandaka Thera. Even though a thoroughbred of an ox of noble breed may stumble and fall, with firm resolve and strong urgency in his heart, he sure enough is stirred back into action as he gets on his feet again, and with mighty effort pulls the heavy burden with renewed energy. Similarly, you may now look upon me as one who has the vision, a genuine disciple of the fully self-awakened Buddha, to be remembered as a noble thoroughbred, the rightful and genuine son of the Buddha himself. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Nandaka, his first. Verse 2.28 Bharata Thera. Let us both go and be close to our teacher, O Nandaka. That way we can together see him face to face, as we both now roar our own lion's roar from the heart, in the very presence of the Supreme Buddha, our Master. For he is the sage who took us in by giving us the going forth, out of his infinite compassion, by showing us the path to the deathless, and to the elimination of all the fetters, for we now have both done it indeed, having at last reached our final goal. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Bharata. Verse 2.29 Bharadvāja Thera. It's in this manner that the wise roar like lions from their mountain caves, true heroes that they are, vanquishing over Mara, having won the tough war against him and his troops, along with their evil tricks. I have now indeed served our teacher, and did so completely, the way any truly dedicated student should, as well as showing my genuine respect to the Dhamma and the Sangha too. So, my heart rejoices like never before, and with absolute gratitude, especially because now I can see my own son next to me, having equally purified his heart from the asavas too. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Bharadvāja. Verse 2.30 Kanhadinna Thera. I have waited upon and attended to superior beings, spending my time listening to them while treasuring each word they spoke. Thus, the Dhamma I learned from them, I immediately put it into practice, as I walked the path that took me straight to the deathless. Now, the lust to re-become and live once more is finally cut down from its very roots, never to be seen in me ever again. And because it is no more, and nor shall it ever be, the longing for re-becoming in me is now obliterated once and for all. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Gaṅgātīriya. Verse 2.31. Meḷajina Thera. Since the moment of my going forth in the dispensation of the fully self-awakened Buddha, I rose up as I was freed from my deluded past, and the sensual realm was fully transcended and left behind. And under the lovingly watchful eyes of my teacher, the great Brahma Gotama, my heart was finally released from all its shackles. And with the full destruction of all the heart's contaminants, the asavas, my liberation now is indeed unshakable. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Meḷajina. Verse 2.32. Sivaka Thera. The petty houses we build throughout life are so transitory, never lasting, unending as they keep popping up again and again, life after life. I searched and searched for the builder of this house, only to be greeted by a yet new birth, and the ocean of suffering it would surely bring. For truly painful it is to be born. This is truth eternal. But, house builder, you're now exposed. You'll never be building me a house anew. Your structure, with all its beams, walls, and rafters, are now shattered into smithereens. The heart is now fully free, never to be trapped again. And at the end of this very life, it will come to full extinction. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sivaka. Verse 2.33. Upavana Thera. The Arahant, the very light of all existence, the Tathagata, is suffering due to severe joint pain and gas in his belly. So if there's a way where you can fetch us some hot water, that would be of very much help to our beloved sage, O Brahmin. That way I can take it back to my teacher, the one loved and cherished by those with faith in their hearts, the one who is honored and respected by those deserving honor and respect, the one venerated and worshipped by those who are themselves venerated and worshipped. So it is for our beloved sage that I seek the water. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Upavana. Verse 2.34. Isidinna Thera. I hear and witness the white-clad lay disciples, the Upasakas, who might seem to be familiar with the Dhamma and its principles, as they keep declaring, transitory are all sensual pleasures. They truly do not last. But even though they say this, they nevertheless live quite infatuated with passions and beguiled by them, adorning themselves with pretty things and the wearing of jewelry, as they remain overly concerned with amassing more, be it for more wealth, offspring, or wives. But despite what they think, these people don't know nor understand much of this Dhamma. For even though they keep declaring transitory are all sensual pleasures, they truly do not last. They lack the willpower and follow through, so to break free from their passions. Thus, they buckle at the knees, and sooner or later run back to what's familiar, clinging on to wealth, offspring, and wives. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Isidinna. Verse 2.35 Sambula Kachana Thera. The sky god keeps raging, pouring and throwing down thunder and rain, while I, on the other hand, sit here alone in this cave that would terrify many. But despite it striking fear in the hearts of others, I continue sitting here alone, without any fear in my heart, nor any startling gooseflesh whatsoever. This is how it's been for me, every time I find a place like this that would send shivers down the spine of others. I stay alone in these desolate and frightful caves, without finding any fear or terror in my heart, nor any gooseflesh to come and surprise or startle me. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sambula Kachana. Verse 2.36 Nitaka Thera. Whose heart is it that is as immovable as a boulder, neither shaking nor quivering, remaining untouched and unrattled, nor getting perturbed by a constantly shifting existence? Staying detached when encountering things in the world that arouse desire and passions. The heart that neither trembles nor becomes annoyed when situations aren't to one's liking. And when the heart is thus trained and developed, could pain or sorrow ever reach and touch one? My heart is as immovable as a boulder, neither shaking nor quivering, remaining untouched and unrattled, nor getting perturbed by a constantly shifting existence. Staying detached when encountering things in the world that arouse desire and passions. My heart neither trembles nor becomes annoyed when situations aren't to my liking. And with my heart thus trained and developed, how could pain or sorrow ever reach and touch me? These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Nitaka. Verse 2.37 Sonapotiriya Thera. No, when greeted by the starry garlands of the night sky, you shouldn't treat that precious time as your invitation to go and sleep your time away. For the ones who know and understand, those hours under the garlands of stars and the quiet they bring are for you to strive more diligently than ever as you spend them wakefully. While riding my warrior elephant in battle as it pushed forward, if I were to fall off my saddle, then it would be better for me to be trampled upon and die, still fighting on the battlefield, than it is to be captured alive by an enemy while swallowing the bitter pill of defeat every day. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sonapotiriya. Verse 2.38 Nisabha Thera. When one is supposed to have already given up the fivefold sensual pleasures, delightful in their appearance, so enjoyable and attractive for the mind. Even though one has left the world behind, through his free will and the faith in his heart, this opportunity should not be wasted to put an end to suffering as quickly as possible. I, for one, do not take delight in dying sooner than I have to, nor do I long for a longer life, seeking to enjoy it. I simply am waiting for my time, patiently, living and dwelling with full awareness and mindfulness throughout. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Nisabha. Verse 2.39 Usabha Thera. Donning a robe over one shoulder, the color of green mango sprouts, I saw myself in a dream as I entered the village for alms, sitting proudly on the neck of an elephant. Realizing the grotesqueness of all this, I felt ashamed at waking. Now, having climbed back down from the elephant's neck, I was seized by a deep sense of anguish and defeat. But amidst it all, I became soft, and in finding peace, I attained the elimination of all the asavas. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Usabha, his second. Verse 2.40 Kappatakura Thera. This Kappatakura seems to be truly living up to his name, the burlap bag of rice that he is. Even though he's overflowing with the teachings of the Dhamma that is deathless, Dhamma that's been fed into him, enough to fill him to the brim with its purifying qualities that heal, he still does not plunge fully into meditation the way he's supposed to be. Stop swaying back and forth, O Kappata, nodding your head off as you are this way and that, in the middle of the Sangha. Don't make me come over there and smack you in the ear. You who shamelessly go on like this and never learn your lesson, it seems. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Kappatakura. Verse 2.41 Kumara Kassapa Thera. All hail the Buddhas. All hail the Dhamma they taught. Hail to the sublime and lofty attainments these noble ones have all accomplished, the ones in whose footsteps disciples who heed the call found in their teachings can realize the truth for themselves on taking the same reliable path they all showed. It was through the incalculable eons and lifetimes they crossed through, the various forms and identities they had to take, traversing through the vast samsaric wilderness of countless births and deaths, until reaching the very last body of theirs, where now none is there left for them to take. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Kumara Kassapa. Verse 2.42 Dhammapala Thera. While still young, the bhikkhu who truly dedicates himself to practicing the Buddha's dispensation, alert and fully present while others are fast asleep, is not one whose life is lived in vain. So let the one who is wise, continuously devoting himself to the faith, virtuous living, undying trust, and the desire to see the Dhamma, engage himself fully by constantly reflecting and calling to mind the instructions of the Buddhas, which we've now all received. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Dhammapala. Verse 2.43. Brahmali Thera. The one in whom all faculties have become tranquil and serene, just like wild horses that have been tamed by their skilled charioteer, whose contaminants are all removed from the heart, with his prideful conceit pulled out from its roots and tossed out. It is truly such a one who has become the envy of even the mightiest of devas. Well, now all my faculties have become tranquil and serene, just like wild horses that have been tamed by their skilled charioteer. Finally, the contaminants are all removed from my heart, with my prideful conceit pulled out from its roots and tossed out. I have now also become one who is the envy of even the mightiest of devas indeed. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Brahmali. Verse 2.44. Mogaraja Thera. Although the skin infection causes you much pain, yet your heart remains beautiful. Mogaraja, you're always in samadhi. But with the winter season setting in, where the nights get so dark and frigid, what will you do? And where will you be staying, O Bhikkhu? Spoken in this manner by the Blessed One, Mogaraja then said, Bhante, I have heard the Magadhan lands are quite fertile, with an abundant supply of husky straws for me to make myself a bed and a roof, as I live in the comfort they so generously provide. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Mogaraja. Verse 2.45. Visakha Panchali Putta Thera. One shouldn't look for ways to suspend or expel others from the Sangha, those with whom he doesn't agree, nor try to belittle, despise, or make accusations against those who, unlike him, have already done their work and crossed over to the farther shore. Thus, wherever he may be, and in whatever assemblies he may find himself, he should remain moderate in his speech, pure in conduct, neither getting agitated, nor praising himself, nor disparaging others. So, despite it being so subtle and beyond anything one would imagine, Nibbana is still not at all difficult for the one who set in his mind to attain it, remaining humble while cultivating his purity in virtue, and always keeping his heart soft no matter what. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Visakha Panchali Putta. Verse 2.46. Chulaka Thera. Look at this amazing display. With their beautiful feathers and tails, the peacocks are proudly walking with their glistening blue necks and lovely faces, while calling out with their attention-grabbing songs and heartfelt cries. The great earth is so drenched with green grass everywhere you look, with dew on every leaf, as the blue sky is splendidly peppered with puffs of pure white clouds. You, now being so alive, healthy and fit, with vigor and strength together, giving it your all, as you meditate with an open and accepting heart. It's so great to be doing the bidding of the Great One, having gone forth for it. Fearlessly push forward, and by reaching for it, touch the very thing that death could never trace, while you attain that which is impossible to describe. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Chulaka. Verse 2.47. Anupama Thera. O heart, you who goes running after things that delight, while you put the impaler's spike in place, and then throw yourself upon it to skewer yourself with it, always rushing to where you may find a bitter end, there on the chopping board. That's why I call you the crazy heart who's out to get me. The treacherous and viciously stupid mind you are indeed. Enough already. You've now finally found the one true teacher, so incredibly difficult to find. So, don't you dare make me slip, or lose my way, or stray from the goal. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Anupama. Verse 2.48. Vajjita Thera. For such a long time I drifted in the oceans of samsara, transitioning with amnesia from one state of existence to another, oblivious and ignorant of the noble truths. Truly, I have been no more than a dense, blind, and common putujjana. But through my diligence and heedful striving, I left those oceans of samsara all behind me, as the door for future becomings was destroyed and closed shut, and the cord itself finally cut. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Vajjita. Verse 2.49. Sandhita Thera. There, under the Bodhi tree, vibrantly glowing with its bright green leaves, I sat, maintaining mindfulness, and with my perception I grasped the meaning, experiencing the truth of what was taught by the Buddha. Now, even though that occurred 31 eons ago, where I gained that insight, it was through that very understanding that I was now able to pierce through and destroy the contaminants of the heart, the asavas. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sandhita. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.